184. Zhao Pu accepts a bribe. From the time Emperor Taizu of Song seized power to the pacification of the South, Zhao Pu was his chief strategist, contributing significantly to the empire's consolidation. Due to his achievements, Emperor Taizu appointed him as chancellor, consulting him on all matters, big or small. Zhao Pu came from a humble background as a low-ranking official and lacked the scholarly education typical of government ministers. After becoming chancellor, Emperor Taizu encouraged him to study. Whenever Zhao Pu returned home, he would lock himself in his room, take out books from his chest, and read them attentively. The next day at court, he would handle state affairs with impressive efficiency. Later, his family discovered that the only book in his chest was the Analects of Confucius. This led to a popular saying, Zhao Pu ruled the empire with half of the Analects. Zhao Pu's persistence. Emperor Taizu trusted Zhao Pu, and Zhao Pu, in turn, was not afraid to stand firm on his opinions before the emperor. On one occasion, Zhao Pu recommended a candidate for a government position. However, Emperor Taizu rejected the proposal for 2 consecutive days. On the 3rd day, Zhao Pu submitted another petition insisting on his recommendation. This time, Emperor Taizu was infuriated. He tore the petition in half and threw it on the ground. Zhao Pu calmly knelt down, picked up the torn petition, and placed it in his sleeve. After returning home, he carefully pieced it back together. A few days later, he resubmitted the same petition. Seeing Zhao Pu's unwavering determination, Emperor Taizu had no choice but to approve the appointment. On another occasion, Zhao Pu once again urged the emperor to promote an official, but Emperor Taizu firmly refused. Zhao Pu questioned, selecting and promoting capable officials is for the good of the country. How can your majesty act solely on personal preference? Hearing this, Emperor Taizu's face turned pale with anger. He flung his sleeves and stormed into the inner palace. Zhao Pu followed closely behind him. Standing outside the palace gate, Zhao Pu refused to leave. The palace guards, seeing the chancellor stubbornly waiting outside, had no choice but to report this to the emperor. By then, Emperor Taizu had calmed down. He sent an attendant to inform Zhao Pu that his request had been approved and that he could return home. The gift from Wu Yue. After serving as chancellor for 10 years, Zhao Pu's power grew immensely. Over time, some officials tried to curry favor with him by sending gifts. Emperor Taizu often visited Zhao Pu's residence unannounced. One day, the king of Wu Yue, Qian Chu, sent an envoy to Zhao Pu with a letter and 10 large jars labeled seafood delicacies. Zhao Pu placed the jars in the main hall but had not yet opened the letter when, by chance, Emperor Taizu arrived for a visit. As Emperor Taizu sat in the hall, he noticed the 10 jars and casually asked, "What are these?" Zhao Pu replied, "They are seafood gifts from Wu Yue." Smiling, Emperor Taizu said, "Since they're from Wu Yue, they must be quite good. Let's open them and take a look." Zhao Pu ordered a servant to open a jar, and everyone in the room was stunned. Inside was not seafood, but solid gold bars. Emperor Taizu's suspicion. Emperor Taizu had always been wary of corruption and abuse of power among his officials. Upon seeing the gold, his expression darkened, and his anger simmered. Zhao Pu, now drenched in cold sweat, frantically pleaded for forgiveness, saying, "Your Majesty, I had not yet read the letter and truly did not know what was inside the jars. Please forgive me." Emperor Taizu responded coldly, "Just accept them. These people think all state affairs are decided by you scholars anyway." From that moment on, Emperor Taizu began to distrust Zhao Pu. The timber scandal and Zhao Pu's downfall. Not long after, another scandal arose. An official accused Zhao Pu of violating imperial regulations by engaging in timber trade. At the time, the Song court had banned the private transportation of large timber from the Qin and Long regions, modern Shaanxi and Gansu. However, Zhao Pu had previously purchased timber from these regions to build his residence. Seizing this opportunity, his subordinates illegally transported additional timber to Tokyo, Kaifeng, for resale, using Zhao Pu's name as cover. When the scandal was exposed, Emperor Taizu flew into a rage, preparing to punish Zhao Pu severely. Despite several ministers pleading on Zhao Pu's behalf, Emperor Taizu remained resolute and dismissed Zhao Pu from his position as chancellor. Conclusion: Zhao Pu was one of the most influential figures in the early Song dynasty. His strategic guidance helped Emperor Taizu establish and consolidate his rule, but his growing power and involvement in corruption eventually led to his downfall. This story serves as a historical lesson on the dangers of unchecked authority and the importance of maintaining the emperor's trust. 185. The Invincible General Yang. After spending 13 years conquering the southern kingdoms, Emperor Taizu of Song turned his attention northward and launched an attack on Taiyuan, the capital of Northern Han. Northern Han sought military aid from the Liao dynasty, and the Song army suffered a defeat. Soon after, Emperor Taizu fell ill and passed away. His younger brother, Zhao Kuangyi, ascended the throne as Emperor Taizong of Song. Determined to complete the unification of the north, Emperor Taizong personally led 4 divisions of the Song army to besiege Taiyuan in 979. Once again, the Liao dynasty sent reinforcements, but this time, Taizong cut off the Liao supply routes. With no reinforcements and dwindling provisions, Northern Han's ruler, Lu Jiyuan, had no choice but to surrender. One of Lu Jiyuan's generals, Yang Yi, also submitted to the Song dynasty. Emperor Taizong had long heard of Yang Yi's military prowess and immediately appointed him as a top general. Defending the northern borders. After defeating Northern Han, Emperor Taizong aimed to invade the Liao dynasty and reclaim lost northern territories. The Song army advanced aggressively, causing several northern prefectures to defect from Liao. Eventually, Song forces reached Yuzhou, modern Beijing. However, the Liao general Yelu Xiuge led a counteroffensive at Gaoliang River, near modern Beijing, dealing the Song army a devastating defeat. Emperor Taizong fled back to Kaifeng on a donkey cart. Following this loss, Liao forces frequently raided the Song borders, worrying Emperor Taizong. To strengthen border defense, he appointed Yang Yi as the governor of Dai Prefecture, responsible for defending Yanmen Pass. The Great Victory at Yanmen Pass. In 980, the Liao dynasty sent a 100,000-strong army to attack Yanmen Pass. At that time, Yang Yi commanded only a few thousand troops, an overwhelming numerical disadvantage. However, Yang Yi was a seasoned veteran and knew that direct combat was futile. Instead, he left most of his troops in Dai Prefecture and led a small cavalry unit through secret mountain paths to ambush the Liao army from behind. As the Liao forces marched southward, they encountered no resistance and became overconfident. Suddenly, war cries erupted from behind them, and thick clouds of dust signaled an approaching cavalry charge. Yang Ye's elite riders stormed through the enemy ranks, cutting down Liao soldiers like wolves tearing into a flock of sheep. Caught completely off guard, the Liao forces panicked. Not knowing how large the ambushing force was, they fled in disarray, suffering heavy casualties. Yang Ye's troops pursued and slaughtered many Liao soldiers, even killing a Liao noble and capturing an enemy general. This resounding victory at Yanmen Pass made Yang Yi famous across the empire. Liao soldiers began to fear him so much that they refused to fight whenever they saw banners bearing the character Yang. From then on, he was given the title Yang the Invincible. Jealousy and betrayal. Yang Ye's success, however, provoked envy among some of the border generals. Some officials slandered him in reports to Emperor Taizong, hoping to undermine his influence. However, Taizong ignored these false accusations and even sent the slanderous reports to Yang Yi himself as a gesture of trust. Yang Yi was deeply moved by the emperor's faith in him. The Northern Expedition and a Fatal Mistake. In 986, following the death of Liao Emperor Jingzong, his 12-year-old son, Emperor Xingzong, ascended the throne, with his mother, Empress Dowager Xiao, ruling as regent. A Song border general proposed that this was the perfect opportunity to reclaim the lost Yanyun 16 prefectures. Emperor Taizong agreed and launched a 3-pronged offensive against Liao, led by Chao Bin, Tian Zhongjing, and Pan Mei, with Yang Yi serving as Pan Mei's deputy. Initially, the Song forces advanced smoothly, reclaiming 4 prefectures. However, Cao Bin's main army overextended, allowing the Liao forces to counterattack and crush them. Taizong, realizing the campaign was failing, ordered a full retreat. Pan Mei and Yang Yi were tasked with covering the retreat and evacuating civilians to Langya village. Meanwhile, Liao forces had already occupied Huan Prefecture, modern Shuoxian, Shaanxi, and were advancing aggressively. Yang Yi's warning ignored. Yang Yi proposed a strategic retreat, suggesting they send a decoy force to lure the Liao army away while hiding elite troops along the enemy's retreat path for an ambush. However, the imperial inspector Wang Xiaobo opposed this plan, arrogantly declaring, "We have tens of thousands of elite soldiers. Why should we fear the enemy? Let's march openly along the main road to intimidate them." Yang Yi objected, warning, "The enemy is stronger than us. If we advance carelessly, we will be defeated." Mocking him, Wang Xiaobo sneered, "Isn't General Yang known as Invincible? Why are you suddenly afraid to fight?" This insult infuriated Yang Yi, who retorted, "I do not fear death, but I refuse to waste my soldiers' lives in a reckless battle. However, if you insist on fighting, I will lead the charge." Seeing that even Pan Mei sided with Wang Xiaobo, Yang Yi reluctantly led his troops into battle. As he departed, he wept and told Pan Mei, "This battle is doomed. I had hoped to strike at the right moment to repay the empire, but now I am forced to die for nothing." Before leaving, he pointed to Qingjia Valley and instructed, "Station troops here. When I retreat, ambush the enemy, and we might turn the tide." The betrayal at Qingjia Valley. Just as Yang Yi predicted, Liao forces ambushed his troops. Though he fought bravely, the overwhelming Liao numbers forced him into retreat. He led the enemy toward Qingjia Valley, expecting Song reinforcements. However, the valley was silent, there were no ambushed troops. Where was Pan Mei's army? After waiting all day without word from Yang Yi, Wang Xiaobo foolishly assumed the Liao forces had retreated. Jealous of Yang Yi's potential victory, he ordered Pan Mei to withdraw. When they later heard Yang Yi was surrounded, they fled down another path, abandoning him. Realizing he had been betrayed, Yang Yi stamped his foot in fury. With no reinforcements, he turned to fight to the death. Yang Yi and his troops fought valiantly, but they were vastly outnumbered. As more Song soldiers fell, Yang Yi ordered his remaining troops to escape, saying, "You have families to return to, do not die here with me. Go and tell the court what happened." Yet none of his men would leave him. In tears, they chose to fight by his side until they all perished. Yang Yi, bleeding from multiple wounds, continued fighting until an arrow struck his horse, throwing him to the ground. Liao soldiers surrounded and captured him. The death of an invincible warrior. The Liao generals urged him to surrender, but Yang Yi merely sighed. "I only wanted to serve my country and destroy the enemy. Betrayed by traitors, I now die with my army. How could I ever live with such disgrace?" He refused food for 3 days and died of starvation. Legacy. The Song court mourned his loss, and even Emperor Taizong was deeply regretful. Pan Mei was demoted, and Wang Xiaobo was dismissed from office. Yang Yi's legacy lived on. His son, Yang Yanzhao, and grandson, Yang Wenguang, continued his fight, becoming legendary heroes in China's frontier wars. Their bravery inspired the famous folklore of the generals of the Yang family, a story retold for generations. 186. Wang Xiaobo's Uprising. After suffering a humiliating defeat in his campaign against the Liao dynasty and losing a great general like Yang Yi, Emperor Taizong of Song no longer had the courage to continue fighting in the north. Meanwhile, internal unrest plagued the empire, particularly in the Sichuan region, where peasant uprisings erupted one after another, leaving the Song court overwhelmed. The root causes of the rebellion. During the Five Dynasties period, Sichuan had remained relatively undisturbed by war, having successively established the former Shu and later Shu kingdoms. As a result, during the later Shu period, the treasury was well stocked with wealth. However, after Emperor Taizu of Song conquered later Shu, he allowed his troops to loot Chengdu, seizing the accumulated wealth of the region and transporting it to the capital, Kaifeng. This deeply angered the local population. When Emperor Taizong took the throne, he further exploited Sichuan by monopolizing trade through the establishment of government-controlled markets. Essential commodities such as tea and silk were exclusively controlled by government merchants, while landowners and wealthy merchants engaged in speculation, buying goods cheaply and reselling them at exorbitant prices. The common people suffered even more under this oppressive system. The rise of Wang Xiaobo. In Qingqing County, modern-day Dujianjian, Sichuan, a tea trader named Wang Xiaobo and his brother-in-law Li Shun struggled to make a living. When the government banned private tea trade, Wang Xiaobo was left with no means of survival. Determined to resist oppression, he resolved to launch a rebellion. In the year 993, Wang Xiaobo gathered over 100 impoverished tea farmers and laborers and declared, "In today's world, the poor grow poorer while the rich grow richer. This injustice must be eradicated. Will you join me?" His words resonated deeply with the suffering masses. As word spread, thousands of desperate people joined his uprising. Within 10 days, Wang Xiaobo had amassed an army of tens of thousands. Rapid victories. With a sizable force, Wang Xiaobo first captured Qingqing and then swiftly marched on Pengshan, modern-day Pengshan, Sichuan. The magistrate of Pengshan, Qi Yuanjin, was a corrupt and ruthless official. Although Emperor Taizong had strict laws against corruption, Qi Yuanjin managed to deceive imperial inspectors. When an imperial investigator arrived in Sichuan, Qi hid his stolen wealth in the homes of rich merchants, ensuring that no evidence was found. As a result, the imperial court praised him as an honest and capable official. After fooling the Song court, Qi Yuanjin intensified his exploitation of the people. Knowing that the people of Pengshan hated Qi Yuanjin the most, Wang Xiaobo led his forces in an assault on the city. The local population eagerly supported the rebels, and the uprising quickly captured the county town. Wang Xiaobo's army executed the corrupt magistrate and redistributed his stolen wealth among the poor. After this victory, Wang Xiaobo advanced north and laid siege to Jianyuan, modern-day Chongqing. The Song general Zhang Qi led government troops to counterattack, resulting in a fierce battle outside Jianyuan. Wang Xiaobo's death. The rebels fought valiantly, but Zhang Qi resorted to firing concealed arrows at Wang Xiaobo. An arrow struck him in the forehead, covering his face in blood. Despite his injuries, Wang Xiaobo continued fighting, ultimately defeating the Song army and killing Zhang Qi. However, Wang Xiaobo's wounds were too severe, and he died soon after. Li Shun continues the fight. Following Wang Xiaobo's death, the rebels chose Li Shun as their new leader. Under Li Shun's command, the uprising grew even stronger, capturing numerous cities and executing corrupt officials. Eventually, the rebels seized Chengdu, the heart of Sichuan. The Song officials in the city fled in terror, abandoning their posts. In January 994, Li Shun, with the support of his army and the people, proclaimed the establishment of the Great Shu state, declaring himself king of Shu. While strengthening his forces, he continued expanding his control, extending from the northern Jianmen Pass to the eastern Wu Gorge. The rebellion spread rapidly. Song Taizong's reaction. When news of the fall of Chengdu reached Kaifeng, Emperor Taizong was shocked. He immediately convened his ministers and exclaimed, "I never expected Li Shun to be this formidable. We must dispatch troops to suppress him at once." Emperor Taizong appointed the eunuch Wang Jian as the imperial commissioner of Sichuan and ordered him to crush the rebellion. The fall of Great Shu. Wang Jian divided his forces into two armies. One army blocked the rebels in Wu Gorge. The main force, under Wang Jian, advanced towards Jianmen Pass. Jianmen Pass was the key strategic gateway between Sichuan and the Central Plains. After taking Chengdu, Li Shun had sent forces to capture Jianmen, but they were repelled by the government troops. With Jianmen secured, Wang Jian led a combined Song force and launched a full-scale attack on Chengdu. At that time, Li Shun still had over 100,000 troops, but they were surrounded by the imperial army. After a fierce battle, 30,000 rebel soldiers perished, and Chengdu fell. Li Shun died in the fighting. The legend of Li Shun's escape. In later folk legends, it was said that Li Shun did not actually die. According to one story, when Chengdu fell, he disguised himself as a Buddhist monk and secretly fled the city, continuing to resist the Song army in hiding. When the Song forces captured a man with a long beard, resembling Li Shun, they executed him, believing him to be the rebel leader. However, 40 years later, an elderly man appeared in Guangzhou, and someone recognized him as Li Shun. The authorities arrested him and secretly executed him in prison. Although the accuracy of these stories is uncertain, they highlight Li Shun's deep influence on the people. His uprising became a powerful symbol of resistance against corruption and oppression, and his name lived on in popular memory. Legacy. The Wang Xiaobo and Li Shun uprising was one of the largest peasant revolts in early Song history. It exposed the severe social injustices caused by imperial economic monopolies and government corruption. Although the rebellion was ultimately crushed, it demonstrated the power of the oppressed masses. The Song dynasty later made some economic reforms to avoid another large-scale revolt, but discontent among the people persisted. The story of Wang Xiaobo and Li Shun remained a symbol of defiance against tyranny and is still remembered in Chinese history as an example of peasant resistance against an unjust system.